Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ladies of the PGS. I am your host, Artem, and of course, we have with us today Lorena Creole. Lorena, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing well. Fall has come to Florida, which means instead of it being 100 with the heat index, it's now only maybe about 90 with the heat index. So, either way, it's wonderful. And of course, always wonderful to be here with you.
Yes, and Lorena, a lot is going on. Certainly, we know that fall has started, and I actually am okay with it now. Like, it takes me a few weeks to accept that fall is coming,
Hmm.
because I don't like to let go of summer. Like, I keep my grip on.
I hear you. Neither did I when I lived in the Northeast. I'm like, no, fog. I loved and I loathed fall. Loved the pretty colors of fall, the like apple pumpkin farms and all of that in the decor, but not the fact that winter will be coming soon.
Well, it's coming, and this whole weekend there were very, very strong winds near where I live, and I couldn't go walk on the boardwalk.
Oh,
There was rain, there was wind, and after a while, I remember I said, "Oh, it must have stopped." And I went to put a wreath that I have, like a seasonal wreath on the door, and as soon as I put it on there, you could just hear the wind start to blow it around. I said, "Oh, I got to take it down. It's not going to last. It's not going to make it."
mhm,
So, these storms, which we get, like they're normal, but I'm thinking
mhm,
to myself, I would gladly take an 85-degree day right now, and just kind of
mhm.
go back to the way things are. But uh,
Absolutely.
Lorena, so much is going on, and I have a lot in our title today. I don't even know if we're going to get to all this, but of course, as you know, because you are reviewing Ahsoka on your channel for your
Mhm,
subscribers, and you're doing it every week with a watch party. Ahsoka episode 6 did come out this past week, and there's a lot to absorb from this one because we finally, after what feels like forever, this is almost like the second to the last or the third to the last episode.
yeah, third to the last. Yeah, there's two more left.
We're finally seeing this guy, Thrawn, which it almost felt like I almost wondered for a minute if we were actually going to even see him because it felt like every episode we were getting farther and farther and farther and farther and farther away from the possibility of seeing him in this episode. And I am not going to say that I would expect Thrawn to look the same as he did 10 years ago, but people have been talking about how even his uniform shows a little bit of wear and tear on it, and that the 10 years or so, approximately, have taken its toll on him, sort of being out in the middle of nowhere. At least it feels like they're in the middle of nowhere, right? Um,
Mhm.
but of course, we saw Thrawn, and it was a powerful moment. I loved when all those troops were cheering for him, and it sounded very badass. They sounded like they support him, and he's like they are almost worshiping him. What did you think about his appearance in the episode?
As someone who read Heir to the Empire, um, I have to say, while it was nice to see him, Disney could have did this better. And what I say about doing it better, it's on two fronts. If Thrawn is the big baddie that I remember from reading Heir to the Empire, I expected to see someone with more gravitas, someone who was a bit more fit. No shade to Lance Michelson. I mean, he's good in everything. I love his acting, but when I think of, let's say, a humanoid alien that I'm going to see, I like to see detail. I like to see something that looks like it's not something that you would find on Earth. And with this, the makeup job looks like they just spray painted on blue paint. And Lucasfilm is notorious back in the day of when they came up with aliens and humanoid aliens. It was just so much detail and effort put into it. This is your big baddie. I mean, it's like it got phoned in. And I was actually looking forward to seeing how they were going to reveal Thrawn. So it's kind of like that show Nailed It, where they try to get as close as possible, and they didn't quite do it with this, and that just that did disappoint me because I know that it's possible to do much better than that, especially given how much money was being put into these episodes. The fact that you roll out your big baddie and it just doesn't it just doesn't have it just doesn't have the punch. So while I'm glad to see him, it's just kind of like y'all could have y'all could have did better than this. That's my minor nitpick. I'm a special effects makeup geek. Star Wars is one of those where it's like I was watching it for the aliens to find out what they look like and markings that they had on and and everything. So that's how that's how it's kind of split about when it came to Thrawn. But I'm glad he finally made an appearance now instead of in episode 8 because that was going to be pointless. So I'm glad that they did finally bring him out.
Oh my God. Could you imagine if they waited till 8? Could you imagine if they waited till episode 8? It was just be, I think I would just start laughing. But honestly, his change in appearance did affect me. And I really do consider him somewhat of a disciplined individual. And I think that he would keep himself, in perfect condition, perfect shape. Yes, 10 years can wear on a uniform. It is true. Like there's even some wear and tear at the neck.
Which would make sense because they got their asses kicked by the rebellion. So they don't have, the usual, you know, droids and everything. The valets taking care of their clothes. So that makes complete sense to me.
And certainly during Star Wars Celebration, I saw the actor who plays him, and he was very svelte, thin, in shape, older
Hmm.
man, a very fit older man, as you know. I do like to see older men. I appreciate older men, but I think they added
Oh yeah.
padding onto him, and they.
What?
Well, it looks like it to me. He looks a little bit chunkier, and
Yeah, I'm kind of saying that just with what you said, with how he looked, how he physically looks, and the fact that they added that onto him. I just it's so disappointing.
I felt it was unnecessary. He could still be somebody whose 10 years has taken a toll, but I still think he would have disciplined himself. And he's very charismatic. Like he's got a certain charm to him. And I was like, don't do that to him. Don't give him something that the actor doesn't even have. Just make him just like as charming as that actor is. But they went with that particular look, and it was very interesting to see that. So that kind of startled me. It shook me a little bit. I was like,
Mhm.
that's Thrawn? Wait a minute. That's
Yeah.
the man that I remember who's kind of
Oh,
he's not a silver fox, but like let's say for all practical purposes, that's what I was kind of expecting in a sense. But that's okay. That's all right. And I, like I can deal with it, but I was surprised to see that. Now, Lorena, there was a lot in this episode. And one thing
mhm,
that I have to say did not disappoint me are I'm going to call them like my two best friends in the series. And certainly,
mhm,
I don't know whether they were considered to be the best or the most exciting new characters in the series. But
mhm,
gee, I have to say that I was impressed with them. I've been impressed with them. You and I have talked about Baylan and Shin, and
mhm,
they keep drawing me into their side. And it's funny because one other element about this Thrawn introduction is that Thrawn is the bad guy, let's say, or let's say the person that's going to cause all the trouble. And
mhm,
yet, I find myself more interested in Baylan and Shinhati's journey. He's saying things like, "Can't you feel this? Can't you see what's going on? Can't?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm feeling it, Sith Daddy. I am feeling something." Why are they becoming so compelling, even with this really cool introduction of the Nightsisters? And I'm going to talk about the Nightsisters in a minute, but
mhm.
it feels like all the balls in his corner, like he's running the show. What do you think?
I think a lot of it has to do with the chemistry between the two actors here. I don't think it really has to do with the writing per se, because like with what they were doing with Ahsoka, it was just kind of flat. But I think the dynamic between these two particular actors, I don't know how much acting that the actress who plays Hottie, I don't know how experienced she is, but we do know how much experience Ray Stevenson has. So with her background, either she's one of those actresses who they recognize talent and are very good at playing off of that talent to make themselves a better actress. I think that is what pulls me into this, because when he starts to tell the story and starts to recount the history, you're like her. You're just like, dang, really? And I think that's why there's just something about these two, and I really do think it's because these two actors, one who knows when to play off of someone else, like, okay, they've got all of this. I got to take this, and go with it, and a more stately actor like Ray Stevenson, who has done theater. And if you've done theater, you have no choice, because your audience isn't sitting in front of a screen. Your audience is there live. So you have to reach them with your acting. And I think he draws on that. And the result is just like, I shouldn't be doing the Sith thing, but I'm doing the Sith thing. Dang it. Keep talking, Sith Daddy. Keep talking.
Now, Lorraine and I are calling him Sith Daddy, and I know many of you guys have said he's not a Sith, but that's just what we're calling him because we
Yeah,
want
that's our nickname for him. That's what we're calling him. It sounds much sexier than Dark Jedi Daddy.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree. We're having
he's a
fun,
beautiful.
guys. We're
Yes.
just enjoying ourselves, and certainly we hope you are coming along for the ride and enjoying some of this and have
Yeah.
a laugh, a little bit of a
Yeah.
laugh on this.
Yeah. We know what it is. We
Yes.
know. Give us a little bit of latitude.
Exactly. Exactly. And certainly, what I can say is that the Sith are supposed to be, let's say the Dark Jedis are supposed to be seductive. And certainly he's winning me over to his side.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like he wants to harness this this power that the Nightsisters have, but I just don't think he's going to be able to do it. However, I think that when, let's say that point where the conflict or where things finally collide, he's going to fight back hard. And I wondered, Lorraine, for a long time now, Ahsoka is in a starship flying towards them. She's going to arrive soon. We get this really
Mhm.
beautiful image of the Purgles. It's a few images before, I think, where you see
Mhm.
the Purgles in hyperspace. And I'm sorry, guys, I didn't have it ready, and it's incredible looking. Like this is incredible. It looks beautiful. It's remarkable. And Ahsoka's on her way. And I'm thinking to myself, Ahsoka is one person against the three Nightsisters, against Thrawn,
Mhm.
against Baylan, against Shin, and against Elspeth. Gee, that is really going to be tough for her. My goodness, what is going to happen when she arrives? Because I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park for her, Lorena. She kind of got hurt, with her hand trying to
Mhm.
stop the whole thing from going through.
Right.
And honestly, you know, when we're looking at Thrawn and what his motivation is and what he wants to do, I can't quite
Mhm.
figure out what it is yet. I feel like I don't know what it is and what exactly he's going to do. However, I do like the fact that Ahsoka told Huang while she was in the in the cockpit, she says, well, Sabine kind of did something that I didn't think she should have done. You know what I mean? And then I got a real Housewives of Star Wars feeling.
Wow.
I did because I know we're not going to get this episode, but like after everything's said and done and everybody's sitting around in a table and they're like, Sabine, you gave up everything for this guy, and Ahsoka would be like, you didn't have to do that, like, and then it would go back and forth and
Like the meme.
yes,
I just thought of that.
yes. And that's what I'm
Okay.
getting. I'm actually
Okay.
more afraid of when she confronts her and her friends are like, you did what? What did you do? Like this will be more dangerous for Sabine than anything Thrawn's going to dish out at her, because this is going to be like, oh my goodness. What do you think about that? I'm more frightened for Sabine for her friends versus Thrawn. Why am I feeling like this? What do you think about that?
I think in a way, possibly because of how low key everything has been between Ahsoka and Sabine. It's like I want to say it's like you don't really see that much of an emotional exchange. It seems to be cerebral. And maybe it's that case where the person who's always keeping it together, keeping it together, keeping it together, and then the other person does that one thing and it all goes downhill from there. It's kind of like the tell-all on 90 Day Fiance. Like everyone's all polite. Oh, I love you, and oh, I love you, and oh, I love you, and well, we have that ex backstage. What? 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 Oh, now it's getting good. Yeah.
And she'll be like, and Harris here too. Oh, damn. Like
I was there. I saw what you did. And you didn't tell me. I didn't think it was my place.
Yeah. That is the vibe I'm getting, because she was like, well, she shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, you know what? If this happened, and you were sort of, I've never really seen, it's not that there's anything wrong with her response at all. She can respond the way she wants to. But even Wang's like, you know what? I think you had some issues, girl. He didn't say that, but he was like, you have fear. And it's like, well, yeah, it's natural for all of us to be fearful of what a person can do. But even Thrawn called out Sabine and said, you know what, girlfriend? You bet the whole future of the galaxy on your friend there. And Sabine's like, you wouldn't understand. And I'm like, this is very like soap opera-y, like and I'm enjoying that. I was more entertained by his calling her out. It's like, she did what? Sabine did, but I've known her from like the Clone Wars. She wouldn't do anything like that. Oh, no, she's changed, bro. Like, this guy has like his hooks in her and should do anything to see this guy, like it's... So it's very like, I'm almost entertained by this. And Ahsoka's like, damn, like I wouldn't even have had to make this trip if I wouldn't even be out here like in the middle of nowhere. I don't even know where I'm going. Tell me a story, get my mind off of all this, Huang, because we don't have any wine in the ship. So let's just tell me a story. And Huang's like, well, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I love that Huang, this droid that she's traveling with, has all the stories and the lowdown. And as I said before, I almost wish the whole thing was told from his point of view, mainly because he has all the information, and it would be great to get, a little bit more 411, like chances are that Thrawn is going to do this. Oh, thanks for the analysis, Huang. You've analyzed 5,000 possible outcomes. And because you're an advanced computer, you know what the possibility is. But I'm still trying to figure out what exactly Thrawn is doing. Now, it is true that the Nightsisters are there, and, he calls them witches too. These poor ladies, are they ever going to live down this witch association? I mean, maybe they are known as witches. Maybe they even call themselves witches. But I would like to think that even at this time in Star Wars, that being called a witch might not be something you want to be called. They're clearly very powerful Force users. Is calling them a witch, it feels almost disrespectful in a way. I love how they phase in and out, and they're like, we have the ability to do stuff, and you guys don't understand anything of how we do this. What did you think about the presentation of the Nightsisters here?
Granted, I have zero history or zero knowledge of who the Nightsisters are. I think there was a brief mention of them in The Courtship of Princess Leia. That's like one of the few EU novels that I read. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect. In my mind, I expected something like the witches in a Macbeth, that kind of sinister type vibe. With these, they were kind of like not quite as malevolent as the ones in Macbeth, and they kind of did a play on the Bene Gesserit voice, from Dune. So that was very obvious because you could see with the way that their voice would change. I mean, yeah, you've seen it other places too, kind of like that voice modulation that gets done, but just with how they looked that they're quote unquote witches, and in Dune, the pejorative what they called Bene Gesserit witches, they would call them that. So they were they were okay. I didn't mind their introduction. I would have wished that they were kind of a little bit more Macbethy, so to speak. They just kind of seem to float around, kind of like we're here. Um, you don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do what we're gonna do, and you need to, stay away. Along with this kind of like space replica of Stonehenge. I mean, zero disrespect, but that's when I look at it, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. Not really Outlander, although it's kind of close, but but I think of Stonehenge when I see this. So it was interesting to see them, and I'm kind of curious as to what they're going to do, because it's obvious that they're very integral to this story, with the way things are going to not turn out the way Baylan probably would like. That's the impression that I'm getting when it comes to them.
Yeah, Baylan's in for the shock of his life, isn't he? These ladies are going to f things up big time for him, and I think that
Hmm.
he feels like when he says he feels something, it's the disruption in the force. It's that maybe something going on. They have these, in the episode. There's a scene where coffins are being moved onto a ship, and
Hmm.
it's a lot of coffins, and we've seen I guess, some pretty impressive magical things from these from other there. It's not obviously not these ladies, but from other uh times, I guess. Maybe it must have been Rebels. It's got to be either the Clone Wars or Rebels, of what they
Hmm.
can do. And certainly they look creepy. But they did mention that Sabine is not supposed to be there. And so
Hmm.
here's one of the coffins. Like, these coffins are being loaded on, and Thrawn is all on board with this, but he was like, well, it turns out that Sabine's not supposed to be there, and that was a big problem, in the Thrawn history, of a loose thread, someone showing up and they're not supposed to be there. and
Hmm.
and on top of all of it, Ahsoka is on her way. So great, like, oh, things were like a little strange. Now Ahsoka's going to show up, and he's like, just go ahead and destroy the Purgles when they arrive. We don't need to have Ahsoka,
Right.
but of course we know Ahsoka's not going to get killed in this thing, because this would
No.
be the end of the story right here. But certainly they got a plan. These coffins have something in it. We've seen them create beings. The Darth Marian sisters can do all sorts of magical things, but there's still a lot that
Hmm.
we don't know about them. And as I said, I still don't know what Thrawn's plan is. And we're at the end of episode 6. There's only 2 more episodes. So I
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, by this time we should have seen something. It's like, oh, did you see that? Oh, that's what he's
Hmm.
doing. Oh my God. Like that kind of response. But we didn't have that. So so there's that. Now I know. The last thing that I want to mention about the series is, of course, this incredible reunion. Um, and when I say incredible, I don't necessarily mean like the best reunion you've ever seen. She hasn't seen Ezra for years and years and years and years and years. And she sees him, and it's somewhat anticlimactic, if you
Hmm.
ask me. I think that they're she hugs him. I mean, this is what this is what she did everything for. This is what she did for love. This is that song, What I Did for Love. She just did everything, disappointed her friends, disappointed herself. Maybe she didn't disappoint herself. Maybe she's cool with it. Like, maybe inside she's all right with it. But and she sees him, and it's very matter of fact, and it's like, hey, wow, hi. 10 years, Lorena. This is the worst reunion ever, Lorena. This is the worst reunion I've ever seen in my life. I've greeted people that I in the family that I had no choice because they were mean to me. I have to be kind to them. I've been friendly.
Hmm.
This is like, why didn't we see something that I think might have been more convincing, that she actually gave up everything and risked everything? Because he's like, it worked, and she's like, well, you don't know, it kind of didn't work, because they're all going to come back and cause havoc. Like, she's not saying the truth. What do you think about this reunion? Did you feel anything between the two of them when this reunion took place?
I felt more for the wannabe Ninja Turtle beings living in the trailer park here than I did for this so-called reunion. It felt flat. It didn't feel like a real relationship was between them, whether it's platonic or whether it's romantic. Either way, your friend who you possibly presume dead, you see them. There should be all kinds of, oh my God, or even just walking up to him and slapping the crap out of him and saying, that is what you get for making me think you were dead. It's some kind of true emotional reaction. And I don't know what they were thinking when they wrote this, but that things like that make it difficult for the audience to sympathize and to feel that experience, because that's what you are expecting. You're expecting to have some kind of emotional payoff. And what was the payoff, really? There just wasn't. It was just kind of like, well, I don't know. Should I hug you? Should not? Should I get consent to hug you? I don't. It was really weird.
That's interesting. Like they inserted modern politics into it. It's like I can't get
Yes.
close. And someone had said, not me, but someone had said that they were surprised that she didn't say, "Hey, did you know the Empire lost?" Like some like very specific comments. That would have said, you're not going to believe what I have to tell you. That'd be the next. Can I just have? She's like, can I just have this moment? And I'm like, you should be running over there. They should have fallen down on the floor, even if it's platonic, like you said, and it'd be like crying and like, oh my God. And this, I can't believe, like you said, this was the worst reunion ever. I'm just putting it out there. Maybe some of you guys felt something here. It was
I'm sorry. Ezra's actor is walking out dressed like a freaking Bollywood screen icon, chanting like Shah Rukh Khan, and you don't know what to do.
He should have been like, come on, girl, come on, bring it in, bring it in.
Did you miss me? I know you miss me. I know you miss me. Well, it's about time you finally showed. I mean, something holy. God, this was like, she was maybe like the Geico. She could have just been a Jehovah's Witness or something. just no.
This was like the drive-through at McDonald's. This is how endearing this was.
Yes.
And certainly, and then, they don't even get like a few moments together alone. He's like, yeah, we got to up and move, the rent's due and people are coming to collect or some shit like that. Like, what is this? They can't even get a few moments alone to talk, and they have to ship all those poor little creatures around. Maybe that's why they were scared, because someone, was terrorizing them or whatever it is. Reina, this was, yeah, I mean, it was awkward. It was weird. I'm almost wondering if she's thinking, was this really worth it? Because it didn't feel worth it for me. I think that for a lot of people who were watching this, they were wondering, why did she risk it all? It better be more than just, because we're such great friends. This was bewildering, and but this is what it is. So that's the last, pretty much the end of it for this episode, and I'm just flabbergasted by this moment that we've been waiting for. Two moments we've been waiting for, which was the reveal of Thrawn, and the second one was the reunion of Ezra and Sabine. And I think this might be something that, as I said, that Real Housewives of Star Wars episode where they go, and then when you saw him, you were like, who are you? Show some love to the guy. Like, this was just, I can't.
Ezra deserved better.
Yes,
he deserves so much. I felt so bad for him. I was just like, baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he was probably like, what did I do wrong? Like, I gave up my life for everybody to be out here, and she doesn't even want to know me, like,
like, you want this or what? Was I wrong? Were you not feeling me?
It's me,
Okay.
remember? Like, but this was, and I honestly, I think the actor looks good, but I think it was kind of a mistake to have him looking kind of rough and ready. Like you said, the
Mhm.
Bollywood approach would have been great to have him dressed, maybe more impeccable. And I've criticized the way that Thrawn looked because I feel like he wouldn't maintain himself like that. And I kind of feel the same way about Ezra because we never saw
Mhm.
him looking shabby or messed up or anything like that. So, um, and so people are saying wannabe Ninja Turtles, three-year-old sisters. Ezra is the cat eating salad.
Yes.
Talking Jackson says, why is he wearing that chainmail thing? Where did he get those clothes? See, these are like all these sort of questions. Thank you, Hunter. Mighty Orbits is like Sabine should have run to Ezra, jumped on
Thank
him,
you.
and wrapped him
Thank
up the
you.
leg wrap, right? You
I
know
was expecting that. I was expecting that.
the I mean, that would have been, and then like I don't think he would have stopped her, and then he would might have told her, like, let's say if he wasn't feeling it, they could work that stuff out in the end. But there should have been some kind of like it should have been like two magnets,
Mhm.
that just like and an explosion. Maybe that's maybe the explosion's too much, but you know what I mean. Uh,
Yeah, kind of like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Oh yeah, you should have done that. And I think, oh,
the chainmail thing. This is Mighty Orbit says word sisters and
yeah, they were
Ezra is
kind.
the cat eating salad.
Somebody needs to do that meme actually.
Yeah, where did he get those clothes?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, these are all sorts of questions that we all have. But you know what? There's two more episodes, Lorena, and they're gonna wrap this up, I guess. Maybe we won't even have a confrontation yet. Maybe things will be just pushed off to
Mhm.
season 2 or some other event. But to be honest with you, I I can't even take it. It's just so funny. So now I'm in the mood for this Squid Game report. And Lorena, I am absolutely yeah, thank you. Mighty Orbit says in that case, Ez could have put Sabine in the friends of benefit. Yes, yes.
I would have been okay with that.
It's been a while, right?
It,
Like
it's been a while. Like, hey, all right, I've had here to look at her, the wannabe Ninja Turtle thing.
she looks good. She looks good. She looks fit.
Well,
This would have
good.
been a beautiful
She's
moment for them, and even a kiss. Like that might have been. I think that would have like broken me. I'd have been like, oh, they kiss! Oh my god! I would have been like shaking if they kissed each other. But whew, it's even.
it all goes back to something you've said repeatedly, and that's that it seems like they are scared to truly write relationships between men and women, and audiences gravitate to that, and I really feel that's missing. And yet again, we have another example of it here. So it's sad, y'all. Ezra was robbed. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh
Ezra was
my
robbed.
god, he thought he was in there too. That smug smile on his face.
Hmm.
He thought he was in there, and I think you guys know what I mean. He thought he was in there that night. Yeah, thank you. He could have done that. Thank you, Mighty Orbats.
Hmm.
Yeah, she certainly wasn't. Like I don't want you to kiss me. I think it was very interesting. You said that, Mighty Orbats. That would have been a time to go ahead and kiss the girl.
Hmm.
Kiss the girl. Go on
Yeah,
and kiss the
it's the
girl.
girl. La 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 la. Yeah,
um,
exactly.
so one of the other stories that I wanted to talk about tonight. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how funny that episode was. Um, is Squid Game, guys? Come on, Squid Game, one of the most popular series on Netflix. People talked about it. It was comprehensive, Lorena. Like 6 or 7 parts. I can't remember how many episodes, but it was a lot in it, and it was fun to watch. And it was quite scary. Like it had some scary parts because it dealt
Hmm.
with sort of like doing things that might be considered, I'm going to say, not unethical, but maybe daring and pushing the limits of what's acceptable in society.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
thank you, C Love. They would have me too, Ezra.
He makes a very good point. I think they're just so worried about the quote unquote Me Too thing that they're sucking out an important emotional component that people
Yeah.
are looking for. And
Oh my God. So that's what I'm telling you. We're gonna we're gonna I don't know, maybe I'll have like a Real Housewives of Star Wars review of this, because it just it's very it does feel very like it could be on TLC with 90 Day Fiance, all that good yummy stuff, but at the same time very frustrating.
Yeah.
So, but Squid Game was a show that we all loved. Everybody loves this show. I've seen
Yes.
it maybe 4 times.
Ooh.
And SNL made a very good parody of it. It's like a country western song, a Squid Game, that I totally fall in love with. Where it was just like a parody of it. It's just so good. And now they actually have a real competition for it's a form of Squid Game, and I'm guessing it's
Mhm.
not going to be the one where red light, green light, and then somebody with a machine gun. It's not going to be like that. But I do like that they did this. And Lorena, I think that it's so important when you have a show like a television show, and then it inspires an actual game. That is when you have a successful show, because people want to relive the fun parts. Obviously no one's going to get killed, but the point is that it was so impactful that it's actually has a record-setting cash prize of $4.56 million.
Oh my gosh.
Goodness gracious. I think this is fun. I think this is looking at the influence that a show can have. 456 players from around the world, a competition show, and they will compete through games inspired, obviously not the same ones. You're not going to have a little girl with the machine gun thing. That's not going to
Yeah.
there's not gonna
Unless it's paintball.
yes. And there's not going to be that platform where it's like 20 feet or 50 feet down. Buy the original stove, but there's going to be surprising additions. I really like this notion, because it's just having fun. It's having fun with something we all enjoyed so much. It's their most popular show of all time. And certainly there's going to be a second season. Here you can kind of see the teaser. I'm not going to play the teaser, but this looks great. Look at it. This is live. This is not that the other one wasn't live action, but it's similar setup, so we recognize it. We're not like, I wonder what this is. It looks like Squid Game.
Yeah.
And it says they said Netflix VP unscripted and documentary series said of the reality show, we're grateful for his support as we turn fictional world into reality in this massive competition and social experiment. Now, I think it is very interesting to look at it from a social point of view, because these are hard times and a lot of people could use that money. This is something that I think is very interesting and very inspiring, and giving people kind of a chance to win money is always good. I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't qualify for the game. Like, I would show up and be like, oh, we have to run. Oh, yeah, I might not make this game. Or we have to hang from stuff. Yeah, no, I can't do that. So I wouldn't pass the physical, but I really think it's interesting to do this. What do you think, Lorena? I mean, this could go for several rounds. It doesn't have to be just one attempt. They could do this every year for like the next 10 years, and people would show up wanting to win millions of dollars.
I think it's excellent. I mean, it's a great idea. One of the things that I loved about the series with Squid Game is it wasn't completely about the money, but also about the dynamics of the personalities who were in there. Like, for example, the first game. Sorry if you haven't seen it yet, the series, but you need to see it because I'm gonna spoil something. They're like all taking pictures. They're like, oh, we'll smile for the camera. And people are kind of like, you can kind of tell by their personality. And this one guy's like, yeah, this is gonna be great. This is going on TikTok. I'm like, he's gonna die first.
Yeah.
And sure enough, in the red light game, he just all those personalities. The one who he just wants to win enough money so he can support his daughter, and his daughter won't think he's a loser. One person who like was white collar crime, Mr. White Collar Crime, I call him, and everybody thought that he was the smartest guy. And it turns out that he and the went to school together. But just all of these different people and all of these relationships. Would you tag up with someone who you thought was easy to manipulate, or would you tag up with the person with the survival, for the survival instinct? Are you the kind of person who, we're both going to get out of this, or are you kind of the person of, well, only one of us can leave, so guess what? I'm going to screw you over, and once you figure it out, it's going to be too late. So that's one of the reasons why reality shows were so into that, is because of the relationship. And you throw that game element into it, I mean, it's genius. And I want to say it's probably going to be even more interesting than the show it's based on.
I hadn't thought about that, and of course, I'm gonna be watching it. It's gonna be televised. It says
Oh
that
yeah.
fans of the drama series are in for a fascinating and unpredictable journey as our 456 real-world contestants navigate the biggest competition series ever, full of tension and twists, with the biggest ever cash prize at the end. How exciting is that for these guys? They kind of look like ordinary people. These are not all athletes or anything like that. I'm assuming they went
Hmm.
with just ordinary folks. Look at that look. You remember
Yeah,
that?
that's dead on. And
Oh,
remember, these sets were not elaborate or expensive to create.
right. And it says it's being co-produced by Studio Lambert in the Garden with Stefan Lambert, Tim Harcourt, and Tony Ireland from Studio Lambert. Also, it's Squid Game the Challenge. It's going to be 10 episodes, and it's going to be
Oh
hitting.
man.
Yeah, this is going to be so
Is
good.
that around Thanksgiving?
It is around Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Where most people are gonna be.
Oh hell yeah! We're all going to
Long
be watching
weekend.
this, eating
Hmm.
eating our desserts, eating our pumpkin pie. This is going to
And
be
watching this.
Yeah, this is going to be great. So I just thought that this was a lot of fun to kind of look at. Certainly, and we don't have a lot of time left. I'm just going to briefly talk about this because I feel that it is important, because this particular article about these authors who have works that we all know, the works that we read and watch over and over and over and over again, because these guys have written practically everything we enjoy in fantasy, science fiction, horror. These are the many of the authors that we are enjoying.
Hmm.
Drama, even. Their work is maybe the most pervasive. Television shows inspired, movies inspired, whatever you want to call it, books, all of this stuff. And they brought a class action series. This isn't all the writers, John Grisham, George R. R. Martin, and others joined.
Hmm.
And Lorena, they made a really good point. You and I are not going to deep dive into the articles. We're only for a few minutes, but something I want to ask you about. What I
Hmm.
really thought was interesting was that many of the authors in this particular suit feel that the AI was geared specifically to write in the style and lore that they created, and they're not getting credit after the work is produced. I think
Hmm.
it's very interesting. I agree, because when we see some of these things that are generated, and it sounds like it's from these authors, this program had to have been trained. They say trained or programmed to write in that style, and I agree with them. What do you think?
I'll preface this by saying, as someone who works in IT, as someone who is a computer programmer back in the day, and as someone who worked with something called an expert system, which is a rule based system. OpenAI is basically a rule based expert system, we'll say 10.0. Is pretty much what it is. The program itself cannot generate anything unless it has a rule base to do so. If you say, I want you to write a thriller, how does the computer know how does the AI know what a thriller is? It's got a database of information and
Mm,
samples of different, say, bodies of work who have written thrillers, like John Grisham, like Michael Crichton. Um,
mhm.
I'm trying to think
George
of
R. R. Martin.
George R. R. Martin. If you're talking about fantasy, okay, they're pulling in Tolkien, they're pulling in George R. R. Martin, they're pulling that stuff in. If they're talking about science fiction, they're probably pulling Ray Bradbury. They're probably pulling, Isaac Asimov. They're pulling a whole bunch of other things. There is that massive database of information, especially given the state of an industry called big data or data warehousing. That's exactly what they do. So they have their baseline, and then there's an algorithm that goes through there and picks up with what you ask it. Like if you say, for example, I want you to write me Star Wars movie based on XYZ and these parameters. Guess where it's going to go to find that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. As someone in programming, that's what I would do, and that is what an expert system does. It's not like it's a body. It's different if, like, say, I'm going to hire some thriller writers, I'm going to hire some science fiction writers, I'm going to hire whatever. You guys come up with it and we'll put it into the system and maybe get some public domain stuff. That would be a different type of AI system. So it seems to me like what this lawsuit is about is, hey, you just basically went and just digitized all my work, put it in a system. It's probably uploaded to I don't know how many places, on the cloud, and accessible to everybody, and I'm not getting paid for it. And that's the difference.
Yeah, and not only are they not, you're correct 100% of this, not only not getting paid for it, but they're also not getting acknowledged for their work.
Yes, exactly. They're not saying, hey, we
Inspired
spit
by.
this out,
Mhm.
reference so and so's work, whatever. They're not doing that. It's
It's
basically
totally it's totally fine to create a show and say, this was inspired by Tolkien.
mhm.
Totally fine to do that. Inspired by Star Wars, inspired by, whatever.
Right.
And, this is just another example of the audacity of, let's say, certain creators, because, it is a creator who made this AI program. It is a creator who did
Oh,
that.
it was not just one. It's a lot of people involved in
Yes, and
this.
as I've told you before, I was convinced personally that Hollywood has been using AI for 5 years or so. Personally, this is just my personal opinion. I don't have proof of it, but some of what the writing that we're receiving seems like something that it might be generated off of an AI. Now, this is my opinion. I don't have proof of it, but I stand by it. I stand by saying yes, it's my opinion. I don't have proof. But when I'm looking at what we were getting, the sort of stuff that was not up to par that we were hoping for, maybe it's because it isn't really original work. It's generated by this automated AI stuff.
Um, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. If you remember, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I know there was some kind of system where that would read through scripts. I think Gina Davis was part of it, where it would read through scripts and score it. Does it have this? Does it have this? Well, basically give it a social credit score or something like that. So there have been expert systems around for at least 20 years now, but technology and data, say data storage limits, didn't progress enough to be able to put something like this together. Remember, Skynet didn't start overnight. Okay. There were steps that happened to get it done, because I'll just give another case. I'm trying to
Mhm.
wrap up.
Yes.
Um, for example, I've used like Bard AI with Google, and I'm always interested to see what gets generated and what gets spit out. And you can kind of see and tell that it's very generic. There's some things where I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to mark this crap up because I don't know where the heck they got it from. But you can tell that there's a difference between the way an AI does and the way that a human does. It's close, it's getting close, but it's very obvious that there's a difference between the two.
Absolutely. Here they talk about, and this is in the writer's own words or in their litigators' words.
Hmm.
It says, and of course it's John Grisham's the litigators. It's just ironic that they put it there, but clearly this is language that the authors and their attorneys prepared, where they say they could not have generated the material had it not ingested and been trained on Grisham's works. The lawsuit, and I believe it. And they're only asking $150,000. That's like pennies, Lorena. I can't
Per
believe.
infringed works. Um, this is just me, but I'm thinking that it's per infringe. So it depends on kind of what it is.
Yeah,
Because if
no,
you do
you're
that, because there's a difference between damages that are sought and any punitive damages.
And
which is
here
up to the judge's discretion.
and here, Lorena, they're clearly saying that they intend to find a solution, meaning that they're expecting a payout from these systems. I think it's really funny because, um, they're actually saying that they want a settlement, more or less, a mutual beneficial way to work together to help people
Mhm.
utilize the technology. They want it regulated. And I hope they do. I hope that this works. I'm just praying that this works because I think it's needed. And I think things will get out of hand. You know, it will just be somewhat of a misguided fantasy that these works that were generated by a computer are original works. I think people are assuming that what we're reading and seeing is mainly, especially for if you go and buy a book, that it's written by a human being. And I think that's fine. And it's okay to go ahead and say this was generated by a computer, and you know right away. Is there some code? AI generated book, enjoy. AI
Mhm.
generated story, enjoy. You know right from the
Mhm.
beginning what you're getting. So this is very interesting. People are making comments, and we are going to wrap this up about, is there a way to protect a work from being included in AI? A copyright should stop anybody from using your work without a reference or without giving you credit for it, right, Lorena?
Well, I'm going to say the only way to protect that sucker would be to not put it out there in the cloud. I'm serious. Just don't. Once it's out there in the cloud, someone can hack it and get to it, and it's kind of done at that point. So I think this is something that's going to evolve, and a set of protections will eventually come out. But right now, it's the Wild West with AI. Right now, it's kind of like, remember when the internet first started.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where we are with AI.
Yeah, and I think that that is very interesting. I think that it's almost as if you can't put a finger on what the original source is and where how they're pulling it, and we would need some kind of background if it's using that. And other
Mhm.
authors have gone ahead and said, you know what, I was really inspired by this, and so I decided to write a fantasy world about it, and this is my inspiration for it, and you know where it came from. I think that that practice in general should be something that should be the norm at this point. So let's hope that works. And the final thing I was going to say is, this article, obviously, this has dominated the conversation for months and months and months, and it has to do with this potential situation of everything being over. And I it has done a lot of damage. Um, it's just unbelievable how long it's gone on for. Uh, I don't even have any words to describe the amount of time that it has taken away from the creativity process. And then for those who are going through it, I sympathize, because it was a matter for many people about, quality of life and pay. And there's a lot of issues involved in it. It's certainly not a simple way to just define it in one sentence. But boy, this really has had an effect over the entertainment industry. Is this really going to be over, or are we going to be back at a strike in a few years, Lorena?
That's a very interesting question. Hmm. Will we be back at a strike in 3 years? That's kind of hard to say, because the reason that this strike went on so long, and again, from what I've heard, this tentative agreement is kind of like a ceasefire, so to speak. Credit to WDW Pro for saying that. The studios were basically the ones with the power and the money to be able to wait this out. There was no impetus on their part to do that, because there were many other places where they could get material. And it seemed like the main sticking point, and it'll be interesting to see how this is addressed in this tentative agreement, the issue of the writers room, which I do not like. Why should you have to bring a whole bunch of other writers along that aren't as good as the really good on point writers? Why do you need to do that? So I don't think that it's going to be 100% over, because pretty much like a bad penny, every couple of years, the WGA will go on strike, or SAG-AFTRA, will go on strike. But now there's so many other choices. So I really don't, even with this agreement, it's kind of like a Band-Aid on a problem right now. There's a problem on two fronts. You've got AI out there, and at the same time, you've got content from other countries that are easily available on streaming. You've got other competitors like YouTube that's out there as well. So the WGA and SAG-AFTRA really do not have the monopoly that they used to be, so to speak. So we're going to be looking at this probably in again in 3 years, and I'll say that even though the tentative agreement is for 3 years, I'll bet you about a year before that thing is set to expire, you're going to start hearing stuff that's going on.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think something also that's very interesting, and a lot of the viewers here tonight have said, and they're making me laugh a little bit for some of their comments. Darth Widow says, read my completely original work, Bonin the Carbarian. And Tom Jr. Jackson says the wrath of grapes. This is very interesting, looking at it and trying to kind of form opinions about what should be acceptable when it comes to creativity. As far as I'm concerned, I support those authors, as you and I have said, but this seems like there's a lot of negotiation that hasn't taken place for a long time. And it should have been every year. They should have come to the table and said, we have to look at the contracts again. We have to look at the contracts again. Oh, we're now on streaming. We have to look at the contracts again. These are things that should have been visited every year and negotiated just like any other contract. And I'm wondering why. What happened to these Hollywood lawyers who used to be spot on? And they'd be like, we got to negotiate your contract. We got to go back and in there and ask for more money. That used to be the norm. Every year, Lorena, when these shows were on network TV, there'd be contract negotiations every year, and no one signed for more than a year. And it'd be all sorts of very specific things. Maybe we need a little bit more of that back, because it is a complicated issue. And we do want to see people get what they deserve. If they're bringing in writers who aren't as good, let them be interns.
Exactly. Let them be interns. This shouldn't be a participation, trophy type of thing. But to answer your question, kind of like, why aren't we seeing, the equivalent of Ari Gold out there? Like, okay, your contract's going to expire. We need to ask for this, and this, and so-and-so's asking for this. You need to ask for so much more. I think what happened with Hollywood, again, not looking far enough ahead, not seeing how much of a threat streaming was going to be when it came on the scene, not seeing the threat that other sites like YouTube and content creators were going to pose. They didn't think that it was going to change. And unfortunately, by the time they figured it out, and I kind of blame the leadership of SAG-AFTRA and WGA for not figuring this out, you're way behind the 8 ball, to the point where the studios have all the power. And I know I've seen comments about, oh, well, the studios are greedy and all that. I'm a capitalist. It's like, look, it's my money. Your job is to make me money, unless I'm in a position where it's like, you know what, yeah, we do kind of freaking need you. So I need to, I need to adjust my stance. But the studios got ahead of that. And the studios hedged their bets because they saw that streaming was a threat. So if I were the WGA, heads of the WGA and SAG and all that, the next time you guys have elections for leaders, you need to ask them some very hard questions about why they did not see this coming.
Well, you're right about that. And, one of the things, and you and I have actually talked about this before we wrap up the show, and we got like a few seconds left before it's an hour. I'm going to say it very fast. I can't. Clearly, you and I saw the writing on the wall when we were talking
Mhm.
about Black Widow, and that was the indication that things needed to be renegotiated. You know, Scarlett
Mhm.
Johansson managed to renegotiate with one of the toughest studios to negotiate with. She managed to do it, but that was writing on the wall that things were never going to be the same. We saw Gal Gadot, Gadot, and other actors get deals because they negotiated that to get payment because they knew
Mhm.
that they were not going to get the same residuals going on down the line, and they needed to get the money up front. So clearly
Right.
things have changed, and that needed to be done for every show, every single bit, going forward. It was something a year ago, almost 2 years ago in some cases, or a year and a half ago. We knew that the climate and the environment and the entertainment industry had changed forever. So, they've got a lot of catch up. They've got a lot of catch up. And with that being said, Lorena, thank you so much for being here tonight, talking about
Welcome.
everything that's going on in the entertainment world. And Tom Jr. Jackson, yes, Tom, you're right. They do have to vote on that. I put strike Finn and a question mark. Um,
Yes.
let's see how it plays out, right, Tom? Tom, I want to thank you for being our moderator, collaborator, and good friend here on the
Mhm.
Burnettwork, part of the Burnettwork family. Also, want to let you guys know that Tom Jr. Jackson has his own YouTube channel, which I had the link for just a few seconds ago.
All
Where
right.
oh, here it is. Guys, subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel. He's got an incredible lineup coming up. He just had a review video now, and he's going to be having some incredible videos in October that will be Halloween based. At least I think that's what it is, Tom. Tom, we are all goof people, and thank you so much for the support. Lorena, where can people find you?
Well, folks, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter, Twix, whatever, spewing my spice and salt. And of course, you can find me on YouTube for various live streams and videos for pop culture analysis and theme parks, as well as watch parties. And then I do a show on my channel called Toxic Male Appreciation. Plus, we also do watch parties as well over my channel. And of course, you guys can always catch me here on Mondays at 6 p.m. And thank you guys so much for being here. I love reading your comments during the stream.
Absolutely. And guys, you can, of course, find me here on the Burnettwork. You can find me on my YouTube channel as well, Positive Fandom, where I do all the parlay in the fandom. So please do check that out. You can find me on Lorena Creole's channel as well. We have such a great time with our watch parties and Toxic Male Appreciation. But you can also find me on Uncivilized Scoundrels on the 1/6 Scale Man Network or on El Profesoro's channel as well. So thank you, everybody, for coming by tonight. It's always a pleasure to do Ladies of the PGS. And guys, I just want to thank everybody for the support of the
You
channel.
got a super chat.
What?
Some proper money too. The king's money.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I know who you are. It's Science Lady. Yes, please pick my brain. Science Lady.
Oh yeah.
How did Science Lady, you have to tell me how I'm going to get in contact with you because you've been trying to get in contact with me and I've been trying to get in contact with you, Science Lady. So please reach out to me. What is your
You're learning Python? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. And I use R. I code in R as well. We don't have enough time, but Lorena, when I started to learn how to use R and a bunch of different programs, my instructors said, okay, if you want to do this, you write down your language and keep it, and you can insert it and use it later on. Okay. So you have your
Mhm.
own library of maybe 50 functions. You need to go ahead and do something. That's how you use it in the system. But I never looked up code, but there are people, and I don't fault them for that. For looking up code, that's okay. It's okay to look up code. But
Stack Overflow is your friend.
yes, absolutely. But that's different looking because somebody compared that to using AI. I said, no, this is very different. I actually had to write those
Yeah.
sequences myself, and I had to show that I wrote them. A very different experience than, let's say, even Lorena, let's say I'm doing a large data set and it's a bunch of other stuff, and someone says, hey, I want you to use stuff from Stack, or wherever, then I would have to go to that source and use it. But for all practical purposes, most of us who are programmers and coders have our own libraries for stuff, whether it's R, whether it's C,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what it is. We just go back to that source and, reuse it and say, oh, I didn't like how that one came out. And you contact a friend. It's like, what did you think about it? And then they say, well, did you look
Mm-hmm.
at this? And there's a lot of consultation, a lot of hard work that goes into building that. So it is very different from going into, say, something like Chat GPT and saying, I want you to build everything from, and create it and it's a final finished product. That's not how coding really works, at least not for me. And I think, Lorraine, you're concurring on that. But
yeah, you might get like code to do like mundane stuff. Like I need a couple of procedural sections. I need you to generate some headers for me or whatever. But the actual code that interacts with everything else, no.
Well,
AI is not thinking for that.
I agree. But first of all, I want to thank you, A World in Pajamas, for the 20-pound super chat. Gee, that is so generous.
Yes, thank you.
Gee, yes. Hit me up. I don't know how. If you go to my YouTube channel, A World in Pajamas, you will find that there's a section at the end that says about the channel. And if you pan down, you're going to see a place where there's my email address and you can email me there. It'll say email for business purposes. So please try and do that. And if not, I don't have another solution. How's she going to get in contact with me? Thank you so much for the super chat. And thank you for letting us know that you're hoping to do MSc in data sci. May pick your brains biology. Yes, I got you covered, girlfriend. I code for R now. I need to do more Python. Yes, R, hope to discuss.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. I'm there for you. Trust me, I've spent many painstaking Sundays working on code. But this is interesting. And thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you, everybody. I'm just about to close off the show here.
Yes.
I so appreciate it, my dear. Is that it, Tom? That's A World in Pajamas. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay. It's in the chat. Thank you so much. Okay, I didn't realize it. It says you need to code now. It's all AI. My email is in chat. Thank you so much, A World in Pajamas. I have your email and I will get in contact with you. I just want to thank the support of this community, Lorena. We have so much fun. We are professionals, many of us, and we understand a lot of these different areas of what it means to do coding and our final outcome. Many of us have our data analysts as well and have worked in that field. So I think there's so many elements to it. And I so appreciate everybody here in the chat. Thank you so much, World of Pajamas. 22 pounds. Wow. That is so generous. And you are so kind, and I will be in contact with you. And Tom, thank you, Tom. Did you tell her that I was just talking to Tom about it because she was trying to get in contact with me. So guys, thank you so much. What a great stream. I went 7 minutes over, Lorena. I'm sorry.
Okay. Happens.
If you hadn't said there was a super chat, I would have known. All right. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. Somebody's talking about legacy machines and punch cards. I think we remember those. That's going way back.
I saw it in a museum.
That's going way back. But guys, thank you so much. And as I said, A World in Pajamas, that science lady, which I believe is your name, I will be in contact with you. And guys, remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, give credit to other people's work. Yes. Give credit. And remember to always be kind. Take care, everybody.